talking for the first time. So, hi, this is Mac Zero from Dextrader. We're on with Jeff. I won't give last names, but we're on with Jeff. And we're here doing just a real quick consult. This is something that we do for all of our members at any time that they need. We're here today. Thanks a lot for doing this with us today, Jeff.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. So basically, let's just start. Like, what questions do you have? What is it that I can help you with? What are we looking at today?
Well, basically, the things are going quite well. The signals are pretty good. The aspect of ATM entries is working well. The only thing I have with that is that, again, with market volatility,
right,
the aspect of being able to get in under the prescribed one down, one up aspect sometimes can be a real challenge.
Yeah.
And is it best just to step away or take more of the in the money trades? Because at that point, some of those at the money's really become almost in the money because of the volatility jumps.
Yeah. The moment you begin to try to chase the money into those other regions, you're playing in the money games again. So it's that at the money strategy with the 3460 or 3664 area, right? That's what we're looking to try to accomplish. Just to let you folks know that are watching us right now, Jeff is like one of the 20%. I talk in all my videos about it takes about 20% of the people who get into 5-minute trades that can do very well with them, and Jeff is one of those people who seems to have a good flow with the 5 minutes, and he's doing really good with them. But what we have found is that using the process of the MACD and your volatility, your understanding of volatility of the market, is that once it starts to gravitate to that one up or one down area and is way in the money, deep in the money, then it's probably time to like get a cup of coffee, right? The concept that you're doing right now is you're gathering data. Like I'm showing right now your trade sheet, and you're on. I see day 1, day 2, and day 3, and we talked a little bit about just going into because you have a lot of notes. These are great notes that you have in here, and I'm going to really dissect a lot of these. But your 3-day earnings for 3 days is $1,256. Is that correct? That I see in there?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to be talking a lot, right? Only because there was a time when I stopped doing 5-minute trades because, to be honest with you, I was trying to get to a level that it was only training me, and I didn't have the same mentality of if I just sat down and did 5-minute trades. Yeah, I have a 92% success rate. 85 to 92, you could make really good money with Nadex and using that process, but you got to be real stern, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a focus.
Yeah. So what do you think is your biggest? Your question you had about chasing it into the money is really just about dialing it back. Don't, right? It's like you don't chase money. You capture it. You grab the money that's coming by you when it's there, when it's perfect, when it fits your criteria, right? This isn't Nadex that you're trading. This is Jeff's world you're trading, right? And you're trying to get to consistency. And it's that consistency that becomes your only goal, right? So it becomes a loop, CVG, right? Consistency plus volume equals goal. Well, guess what? Your goal to minus your volume is your consistency. So you have to get to that end part of the algorithm where your main goal is consistency, because that's the only thing that's going to get you to a point where you can rely on it. You can rely on your rules. You rely on your prowess of, I only do these rules, so you're only taking 36 or 64, maybe not so precise to say and so rigid as, because I see some of your trades, you got 55, you got 29, you got good profit margins here and there. And I'm not going to tell you to do anything different on your buying power. Whatever you're doing to buy, keep doing it, right? I see a couple of them that you get like $10 profits, right? So,
and some of those occurred when I'm making an entry, but the market moves so quick that when I hit go, it had already shot one direction or the other.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of times they would go into working orders and then they were instantly filled.
Right.
And then So yes. that was a little unnerving.
Well, I see that, and then you get a $76 loss and you wipe out 4 of them, right? But it's
exactly.
I think personally, from what I see of your ability to be able to buy these in, is that you're going at the market on some of them, you know,
Hmm.
and that's fine. You're doing a market order to come straight in at that time in that relationship, which is really good. Your accuracy on your last 20 trades, I think, because here's what happens, Jeff. You get to a point where you become knowledgeable of the market just by osmosis, right? Just being there trading
Right.
a handful of assets that work really, really super well for you. And you're using the signal. Now, what signal system are you using, the WB or the 5-minute indicator?
The 5 minute. Well, it's
Okay.
the web based.
The web base. Okay,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, it is web based. Yeah.
Yeah. So using the signal as just as another indicator, right? So, but then you do a little bit of validation, a little bit of price action modeling, right? Because that's what we're really doing. We're
Hmm.
playing with price, especially with Nadex.
Exactly.
You have to play with the indicative price, but there's a market price you're playing with. You see, so the
Right.
indicative price being for the asset and the market price being for the market maker. If you play with that number as well, that's a third variable that's in there that a lot of people don't talk about, right? Everybody's talking about the price of Forex going up and going down, going up and going down. But what people don't realize is that there's a whole nother sub-market of playing under variables called the market price. And that's where you're dabbling in, right?
Hmm.
And that's
Exactly. Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
where
That's where those Nadex charts come in handy.
oh yeah, right. So
Yeah.
that's a good point, and we can I'm going to touch base on that in future videos here to dissect that value for Nadex, especially in our Nadex Ninja series. But there is a solution that you have found that works for you, and what that is, we don't. I mean, I know what it is directly, but it's not normally obtainable by the average person, and I'm telling you that because you're not the only one. There's probably about 50 or 60 other people within our pretty big market. We've had about 4,500 to 5,000 people go through our 5-minute training series in our systems, and literally only about 15 to 20%, about 20% do good, but there's probably about 5% that do great. And I see you as being one of those ones that are going to be very, very, very great at this. That sounds like
Wow.
that sounds like a Trumpism.
That's encouraging.
Oh yeah, well, listen, you got 84% accuracy with a 95% on the last 20 trades that you just did. And as you start to, and again, from here, this point on, there's no changing, right? You just stay with what you're doing right now as far as your buying prowess, right? Even if you do get the ones that are in there at, $13, $14, whatever, whatever you're doing to buy and validate that process for yourself is working for you. So your 3-day total at 12 something, your each daily total, the time that you're putting in, I mean, you got some extensive time in here. You're
Yeah.
a little bit everywhere.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
we talked before. What do you do for a living now? Because you're retired, right?
Yeah. Basically, I'm semi-retired. I was a retired naval officer, and then went into the corporate world. I was a financial analyst for years, and so now I was laid off from that, and so now I'm looking to trade.
Yeah. Well, this is the business of Jeff at the moment. Okay, so that's the next level for you is now creating yourself the pairs that work very, very well for you, that you can keep using the same buying prowess that you're doing, the same thing, the same flow you're doing, but isolate your data and find out where are your real gems. Is it the USD JPY or is it the Great Britain Pound USD? Is it Euro USD? I see a lot of Euro USDs in here.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of dollar yen.
Yeah.
That seems to be the one.
If that's the one, if that's the real, because I think we did that before. I think we isolated some. Did we do that on your average buy? I'm looking at your first 23 average buy rate. And you like, I can see you like data, right? Because you've been in the industry for a while. You know how to take. So how do you feel about the journaling process that we've kind of put you in here? Do you just make this, because of course it makes sense for you because you're using it very well. But as the average person, what do you think about this process?
Oh, I think it's excellent because it gets you to think about the psychology behind trading, because that's, I think, a lot of what trading is about. It's the mental aspect,
right?
Because there's always that hesitancy and the concern, is this right? Is that, and we get overanalyze, and then we get that paralysis of analysis,
Yeah.
whereby we don't do anything. Whereas with the journaling, it allows me to go back and think, okay, what was the mindset of this, and why did I jump in here? Why did I not? Or, I mean, a couple of those were, I think I wrote, wow, this was really interesting because the way the market was moving, it was a really excellent price to jump in, and you could see that the market was going in a certain direction.
Right.
And I got some really good rates on some of those, but and then it allows me to look back and think, well, why did I, everything lined up, but just the market moved, and that happens. There's a couple of those, but it gets me to think, okay, that was still a solid trade because all the data lined up.
Right.
It allowed me to go back and look at some of these, but doing it at the moment is what works for me. Is as soon as the trade's over, I'm grabbing the data, and putting it into the journal because it allows me to really process at that time what took place.
So you're not trying to remember what happened an hour ago, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm looking at your journal right now. I'm showing your journal as we're talking, and I see some. This, folks, is like the best way to keep a journal, because the journal's reasoning is to track the trades and see the profit and know what you're doing okay, know you're in the right direction, but it's to look at your buying power, what you bought it for, but also keep notes. And if you do it of the moment, you may miss a trade or two every once in a while because you're going to be, copying and pasting and keeping notes and thinking, but the data that you get is what's going to set you up for the rest of your life. And as long as Nadex keeps 5-minute trades on there, and this is why I tell a lot of people, if you use 5-minute trades to train, that's one thing. If you're going to use it as a business, then invoke even harder rules against yourself in this process, because the money, just as fast as it comes, can go as well.
Right. There was a couple of bad trades in a row there, that, and I know the rules say step away and walk away. For me, it's like dig deeper. What's wrong?
Yeah, right. And you can sometimes, but see the microisms that happen on Forex in a 5-minute trade, because you're so finite, right? You're so closed in on that one area that if news comes out that's only one bull, it can affect the time period. If you're on like a commodity pair like the Australian dollar, the Aussie dollar, you can really get hit by gold futures happening, or oil, or if you're on a USDC 80, oil can come out and just a burp of oil and a dump, and you're up 6 pips and you're over your margin head. So the concept comes down to you have to play the market, and if things are going against you and the flow that you're using isn't working, then at that moment, then you got to pause. Take a break for station identification if you have to, and then reassume. And that's where most people lose their psychology, is that when you get 3 losses in a row, where do you go? Where do you go at that point? Do you go mentally down the rabbit hole and you're trying to dissect every bit of it, and then then next thing you know, you're using Fibonacci rules. You're like,
and review.
Right. Review your journal, right? Go back to where you've been so you know where to go. And I think that's, it's okay to look and see if you've made a mistake. Like sometimes I used to buy in, I was like, oh man, I bought it on that. I should have bought it on the signal, but I bought it a little bit past it, and I was a little bit past it, and I should have got out. But I see you scalp a few trades as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, there's a lot of time when the market's not moving well, it's easy to see, okay, there's not enough volatility to make a big move, and there's 2 minutes left in the trade. I'll grab a quick $20. And even though the ratio, 8 to 1 is a little rough, or 8 to 2, I'm sorry, if it should go south, but knowing how the market's moving and seeing, certain trends and aspects, I'll jump on board and grab a few quick ones.
Now, the tools that you use to validate, are you using support and resistance, or you just what do you use for your charting software? What are you using?
Right now, I've got I do have an MT4, and I'm using a lot of support resistance elements, as well as just again the price action, just watching the movements and over time to see volatility rates and if that's going to move against my strike. Right. Or, how is it moving within that strike range? And if there's not a lot of movement within the range, then I'll just jump on board it might be in the money, or it could even be a deeper in the money.
Right.
And just jump in that, grab a quick $10, $20 and, which doesn't sound like much, but if that's multiplied by a couple of contracts, then okay.
Yeah.
3 or 4 of those trades a day, not too bad.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I try to look at 5 minute trading is that if you're pulling 25 $30 per trade, you know, 35 right in that area, you know, $32 if you're pulling that off. Absolutely. Because we went with this whole concept 36.24 or 36.64 area for a long time, 32.68, whatever it was. And I kept on telling people the market makers get wise, right? Like we had 300 people in our 5 minute system, and it was like everybody was going and getting like 68 and 32. And I swear to God, it felt like Nadex's market makers were like, any contract you see come over 38 or 62, run like hell, right? Like don't buy it. And that's what I felt for the longest time. So I was telling people, switch it up, do like 67 or do like 31 or do 33, you know, be in that area. But again, the market price, which is that third underlying that 6 cents, if you will, of the market, comes at a price as well. Not that, no pun intended. It because you can get kind of swamped up in that, you know, because the market value moves so fast. It's okay to put a working order on for a price that you want and get bought, but just keep in mind losing trades will get bought, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
What you're doing, from what I see, do you use working orders at all, or are you just straight
Oh, yes.
market? Okay, good. So you use a little bit of everything, and I think your toolbox is a little bit more vast than the average trader that comes on. Maybe this could be, you know, significant for your success, of course, and the reason for something more of your success than others. But I think everything you're using is easily attainable by anybody else, just with a little bit of practice. Do you agree with that statement?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just watching the market by day, and it's you know, it's an evolution. It's going to change because I'm looking at my notes on day one compared to day three. They're different.
Yeah. Well, I can see the progression, and that's what's really important too, is that your progression is always measurable with a journal. You can go, like you said, you can go back and look and go, oh, look at this. Yes, this is what it is. Most people, and here, most people who come on to trade 5 minutes, they either do really, really bad the first couple and get a little bit better. And then I could tell when people come on and they do really bad and for like 20% or 30% success because they're just not following the rules, or they're new, or their fingers are slippery, or whatever, right? And then they get to like 3 or 4 days in, 100 trades, 200 trades, and they slowly get better, 60, 70, right around 80%. Those are my great long-term traders, the daily and the intraday guys. They become really good at that, right? Because they progressively gotten sturdier into a foundation, and then all of a sudden they're trading in the longer terms. The people that come on, and there's a second type of person who comes on that does really, really well, like 80, 90% their first couple of, you know, their first 20, 30 trades, and they're like, woohoo! And then they lose one, and then they're like, ugh. And then you can see where the mentality goes. I see 6 losses in a row. I see things being bought for like $4. You know, it's like, oh, wait a minute, that didn't work. Let me try something else. And they're immediately trying to shift their entire mentality. I noticed immediately when you came on, that first day's worth of trades, you're pretty rock steady. You followed the rules. You listened. You did your homework. You did what you were supposed to do. You learned first, and then you come in and you start training on trades, and you kept good notes. You followed what we said on journaling. You did just about everything we said, which is perfect. This is why I always tell people when they first come on, you gotta do the training. You gotta get in a demo. You gotta practice. You gotta keep the journal. If not, then, you know, because too many people come on and they're like, you know, I could do this. I've traded Nadex a few times. I got this. I don't need to do all that training. Yeah, okay. You keep telling yourself that.
Well, yeah, and I may not have mentioned before, but I was a commodities broker for a while until the company I was with was doing little things shady, shall we say, and I don't look good in silver bracelets, so I thought, yeah, I'm going to leave this.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with markets, but at the same time, there's always a lot to learn, and if you've got a success system, I want to model that. So I figure I'm going to do it as, you know, the way the experts say. So
well,
yeah, I did the videos and the training first just to make sure I understood everything, and did a couple of them a couple of times just to make sure I had everything down, and then jumped on board and started doing it the way the way it's structured, the way you have it set up.
Well, the way you do your flow is brilliant, and I love it because it's. I'm watching your buying power. I'm watching what you're doing on when you're getting on trades, and I think there's something to say. We have a couple programs that we do here. It's, you know, we have an apprentice, we have a journeyman, and we have the master series that we're doing. And we used to have like senior traders. I'm a senior trader with the company and doing the process and one of the owners. But I'm taking our company to another level of progression, and it's going to be offering certain traders opportunity to come on board and be in like meetings like we're doing right now, but in front of other people. And of course, it's a paying gig, because it's I don't want to waste people's times, coming in for free and stuff like that. But I want to get your thoughts on is this something that you would be interested in helping? Because we do a lot of pay it forward stuff, but I also know that people's time is worth a lot, and I don't want to take away from your trading and stuff like that. But I also am looking for people that can kind of come in, at these kind of levels, and you seem to be doing very well in the 5-minute trades. And really, we could sit down in like meetings like this and discuss, different trade practices, different things that are working or not working. Would that be something you'd be interested in?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great.
I like the idea of paying it forward because a lot of people have helped me along the way, and it would be great to be able to help others.
Absolutely, because I think with your flow and the way that you work with the 5-minute trades and your journal, of course, and your experience in the other industries would be an asset that I'd be silly not to try to work with and help cultivate, as well as use for ourselves as well. Our company has always prided itself. We have a lot of free members. We definitely have more free members than we have paying members, but it's in the tens of thousands of free members, that people that have come through the system. We do this thing called the Trader's Mind series, where I teach people how to scalp using the stochastics, and that has now just hit 11,000 people who have gone through it, and that to me is, boy, that's a lot of people, and that scalping mentality is pretty powerful, especially when you can apply it to some very short-term trades. Do you see this system being, well, it is in demo right now for you, but do you see it being profitable for you?
Oh, absolutely.
Good.
In fact, I can't wait to
ramp up.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, all right. So a couple more things, because you're in demo right now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. When you start trading in a live account, whatever you're going to be starting with, please, really, set another consult. We'll discuss. We'll go through all the final numbers, and we'll talk about the management, because you being in the futures market, money management is very important, right?
Oh, yes.
The idea is that nobody wants to think that the demo system and live system can be different, but it can be. And the reason why it can be is because there's a psychological battle you're going to go through when you're going from this demo to live. So whatever Jeff's or your results are, yeah, of course they can be limited and all that lawyer stuff and the disclaimers and all that. But the real thing is that when you get to your own level of success, it doesn't you don't just stamp it onto somebody else. So somebody else's level could be completely different. But it also goes the same, say, from demo to live. So what we want to do is almost do, like if you ramp up your demo and you're like trading 2, 3, 4, 5 contracts to see what the numbers look like and what they feel like to build up some of your bravado, when you go to live, start over, right? Start over with the one contracts, being very kiddish. Still use the same buying power that you do, but don't just like, oh, yeah, I got 3 wins. Let me throw in 5 contracts. Start with 2 contracts, right? So you done one, you got into a point where you feel, all right, this is good. I got my flow. Start with 2 contracts, get to a number. And we call this the incremental crawl. So it means that make a number in the sand. Say if it's like $800 profit, you do 1 contract till you get to that point, and then make it another 800 or 1600, whatever it is, but only make that rigid incremental crawl up until you get to those levels of economic curve, right, or the equity curve, getting it up to that level, and try not to, because this is where I see a lot of people falter, is that they come in, they do 2 or 3 trades, and they win, and then they put 10 contracts down on that one that you're supposed to lose, right, and that then you're fighting against a dragon the entire time, and then the mentality falls, and your whole house of cards collapse. I don't see that happening with you. I see you being very methodical and very precise, and I appreciate the work you've done.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, there is still that aspect, and trading is there's a lot of the mental elements involved, and
right.
Oh yeah,
I
like the term the dragon. It's very, very real.
Yes, it is. It is. It was a mentality of opiate and opium people in the day. It was called chasing the dragon, where they would you get into this mentality of, hey, I need the next line, and where's my next fix coming from. But the concept of trading is that it's still addictive. It's almost like a gambling process. You beat yourself up. You go through like 7 stages of withdrawal almost of when you're trading the 5-minute systems, and you start to win, you start doing really good, and then you fall apart once you start losing. I don't regularly trade the 5-minute systems only because there's so many things that I have to do to keep my attention to doing that. So I call it the Einstein window, and I use my Einstein window to do other things and build the programs and deal with people and do consults like this and build all the content. But when I catch somebody like yourself, I want to sit down and kind of go over. So Jeff, I really do appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure. That was fun.
Well, my name is Max Farrow, and this is Dextrader.com. We look forward to seeing you next time. And as always, trade well.